Hey guys, so this is Tara, and I'm here interviewing my very close friend Michelle Russi, who's been a dear friend for me on this journey. We've known each other 25 years, something like that. We met when our boys were little. We've gone through a lot together. I love her dearly. Since I moved to Kaua'i a year ago, she's been out to be with me 4 times now. That's how much an amazing friend she is. And she's come and been here through really tough times, and I'm just finishing chemo now, so she came out to be with me for my last round because the last few rounds have been really tough. So it's an honor to be here with you, and thank you for giving your time to share your perspective of what it's like to be the dear friend of somebody on a cancer journey.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So, let's see. My perspective is that I was with my dear friend Deb Hupsmith when she went through acute myeloid leukemia, and I have my own perspective of what it was like to be with her, and how beautiful and sad and heart-wrenching and everything it was. And I'm just curious to know, and I'm sure there's a lot to share, so feel free to share whatever you want, but just how has this experience been for you, watching a dear friend go through a very serious diagnosis with the last 3.5 years?
Mm-hmm. How has it been? It has been everything. It's been huge experience. It's been a huge gift, oddly enough. I don't even know how to start, but it's added so much depth to my life to be able to share this with you, and allowed me so much more perspective on just my life and the people around me, to share such a tender and intimate journey with somebody, and not just somebody, but my dearest sister, who I love so much unconditionally. I'm going to say at this point, no conditions. And it's been heavy and heart-wrenching and completely joyful. We've laughed so much these 4 times we've been together over this past year, deep, hearty laughs. We've cried together so much. It's been everything. It's been so much. I'm going to say it again, it's just added a new dimension to my life. I feel like I've grown up a little in the past year. And it's added, it's just added, it's added to my life, I want to say gravity, but that sounds so heavy. It's just added depth. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes in cameras I get a little lost for words, but
That's okay.
yeah, it's added so much more depth.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure there's been the full range of emotions that's come at times, and I'm just curious, does it feel like it's been an initiation of some sort?
Absolutely. That's a good insight. It has, because I'm not close with death. I have not had many people in my life die. Grandparents who I love, and of course they mean so much to me, but it's a different story when a grandparent dies or an elder dies.
Right.
There's a natural timeline to that. But when it's your sister who's your age and young and still has a whole nother still life ahead, it is an initiation into death, into this realm that is so taboo in our culture and scary, and there's not much space in my world or in many, in our lives for this inevitability, which is death. And it has, I feel like it's provided an initiation in there for that. I feel more like able to, I feel less awkward around sickness than I may have before.
Right.
You know, and less like tiptoeing around it. Feels like, oh, okay.
Before you felt uncomfortable
Yes.
around sickness.
Yes, uncomfortable around someone facing death, facing, you know, hardships, you know, medical hardships in their lives or health hardships. And it's something I wouldn't necessarily avoid, but I wouldn't jump into, you know. And now I feel like more equipped spiritually, and just, yeah, I feel a little more equipped to be present with someone because of this intimacy we've had around it. You know, you in particular are very free and open with sharing your journey, so that, you know, that helps a lot for the people around you to feel like kind of relaxed into receiving what you are going through around it. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Yeah. Do you feel like through this process that you have less fear of death now because of witnessing what I've gone through?
Yes. I mean, we've sat and talked about what it's like, what it happens if you die, you know?
True.
And I don't talk about that with people.
Right.
So yes, it's provided a sense of peace around it. And of course I'm human, so I get afraid of my children dying or me dying, or, you know, there's still that, like, on some level I run in that, that I don't want to die. I don't want Tara to die. But there's this relaxed feeling and less fear, way less fear.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
a gift
you. It
to
is
really
such a gift.
come to see it and not have so much fear about it, I think. Nice. Yeah, Michelle and I have shared some moments where just pretty tender and crying with our legs wrapped around each other and talking about some deep stuff at times. So she's it's very special to have the friends that'll walk with you through the shadows. Gotta say, it means a lot. Thank you for facing your fears and showing up, because a lot of people are afraid of it. So I really appreciate your courage and just your devotion towards me. It means a lot.
Well, like I'm saying, it's also a gift to me to feel like you going through such a tender or such a precarious journey, to feel like you're welcoming me into this close, intimate space with you where you share yourself. It's such a gift to me. I feel so honored that you want me around, you know, because I know when I'm feeling shitty, I don't want necessarily people around or whatever, but this is way beyond feeling not so good. But yeah, I'm very honored to be in your presence during this. Yeah.
Thank you. You have a very gentle way of being just present and holding space. So I feel comfortable, and I feel comfortable speaking up if something doesn't feel right. And you're able to hear it and not take offense or take it personally, which is huge, because it's hard to feel bad and something doesn't feel right and speak up and just say, I need quiet right now, or I need some space. So kudos to you for being able to hear that and flow with it, because not everybody can handle that.
Well, thanks.
People are looking for security in others, and you're just sovereign unto yourself and just so kind and loving that you can hold it that way. Yeah, I want to go back. So when I first moved back to Kaua'i about a year ago, I was not in a good space. I was spiraling down pretty fast, and Michelle first came out in like
April.
Thank you. Yeah, April, and I was not doing well. It was at the point where we did scans, and the cancer had spread extensively to my lungs, my liver, my spine, my hip, many places. And I got the news that, you know, pretty much like do chemo or die. And Michelle, you were here when I was told that, and I was literally facing the decision of do I even want to do it? I've never wanted to do chemo. I'm scared to death of it. And really analyzing my beliefs of like, am I brave enough to do this? What do I want? And it was through my, my love pretty much for my son, who's 26 at the time, of like, no, I want to be here for my son Willow, that I decided to do chemo. And I would imagine you being such a close friend, that must have been very scary to see me on such a precipice in a way. And I know it's probably sensitive to bring up, but I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing how that was, of just this witnessing me with such a huge decision point. And at that point I was coughing. I couldn't have a conversation like this. I was coughing all the time. I was having coughing fits at night where I'd wake up gagging. I couldn't sleep laying down for 2 months. It was horrible. And my hip, because the bone metastasis was getting progressively worse, and I was limping and I was in pain. So, and here we are. We met when we were 25 or so-ish, knowing each other when we were young. And then of course this happened when I was 49. So anyways, it's a young age to go through it. So I'm just curious if you feel like sharing how that was for you, because that was a pretty heavy time.
It was the heaviest in my lifetime ever, and I don't mind sharing with you. It was so scary, and so, I mean, we were saying I'm not afraid of death, but that was, it was so hard to see you going through that. Just to hear you coughing, and I mean, everything you just explained, it was so difficult to be around you and want more than anything to see you feel at ease and at peace and just even get a good night's sleep, so it was, and I remember leaving and at the airport, and I think you even said it to me, and I remember going, am I ever going to see her again? And it was like, I never experienced anything like that. And so it was hard to say bye to you, thinking this road, this trajectory she's on is like, I couldn't visualize you being healthy again. I couldn't. It was like everything was pointed towards downhill. So it was hell. It was hellish. It was not right. Like, this isn't right. My beautiful, most healthy friend I have is going through something that's just not right. So, and then watching you struggle with the decision, and knowing and having faith and not ever wanting to like tell you what to do, and not that it would even help because you're a strong, decisive woman. But in my heart going, I really hope she chooses chemo. And I remember talking with you about it because you wanted to talk. You always want advice. It's a beautiful thing. You want to talk about things. And I remember talking with you a bit about it and coming to this idea of, well, I am a wise woman and I'm open-minded. So open-mindedness kind of means maybe I should open my mind to this thing I've had a closed mind to. And I felt such relief because I was on board with you with no chemo. I mean, I was so on board. I'm like, yeah, she's doing it naturally. I'm all for it, But then when it kind of switched and it wasn't going in that direction for a variety of reasons, and then, your doctors were saying, okay, chemo or nothing, and you coming to the conclusion that chemo was okay, I felt such relief because I wanted you longer on the planet. I was not ready to say goodbye to you. The planet's not ready for you to go, and I wanted it to go in that direction so strongly. So yeah, I'm gonna have to say that is the hardest thing I've gone through in my life, is to be aware of the pain you were going through on a variety of levels of pain, and just feel you suffering and knowing you're so strong going through all this, and still just knowing how hard it must be and feeling how hard it was for you.
Thank you for being brave to show up and during that rough time.
I couldn't imagine not showing up. You know what I mean? I couldn't, as hard as it is to be around and feel and know you're suffering, I'd rather be near you than away from you knowing it's happening.
Right. We interrupt this for dog barking. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's really authentic, and we've actually never really talked about that in retrospection. So I appreciate your vulnerability in sharing that, because that was a very scary time, and I just felt like I was spiraling out of control in a way. And here was you, and then Cyrus, who was my partner at the time, just holding so much space. And I felt your love, and it's good to know that you wanted me to do that. You didn't quite voice that, but I appreciate hearing that in retrospect.
I thought I did.
You might have,
but not necessarily. Like, I thought I was like, I'm glad you're doing the chemo after. So maybe not during the decision-making process, because I know that's fully you. I know you by now, and I know you're making your decisions. You're sovereign in making your decisions. Although you take it all in, you're very good listening to what people have to offer. And,
right.
But yeah, I felt so much relief.
Did you feel a sense of hope that, like, okay, maybe this will help her?
Absolutely.
You did.
Absolutely.
You had a sense.
I had a sense that, because I had met your doctors and your team, and I had really, I know I've expressed this to you, but I feel like they're angels on this island. Your team of doctors that are with you, and I felt there was a lot of women, and it seemed like that's the advice they were giving you. And I remember going into the radiologist that time.
That's right.
And she showed us the pictures, and I hadn't seen how far the chemo had gotten in places.
Or how far the
cancer.
Yeah.
And she basically said, she gave you a time frame.
She said you have 6 months if you don't do any chemo. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, my girl better do chemo. Yeah.
Well, thank you for not pushing that on me and letting me come to my own decision. And I do remember you saying afterwards, like, I'm glad you are. But you completely held the space for my own decision, which is so wonderful. Just speaking from the perspective of being a cancer patient, it's so nice when friends and family can let you make your own decisions and not push it on you. And they may have preference, but to not tell you, we think you should do this, and be, pushy and dogmatic. So those of you who love those on a cancer path, I really encourage you just to be very supportive and just allow the person to come to their opinion, and whatever that may be. So kudos to you for being so wonderful in that way.
Thank you.
I'm also curious to know, because I had a couple hard months of chemo, and you came out in April, and then you came out in July with your daughter Zenobia, and then you came out again September, I think. So Michelle witnessed me slowly getting better, but going through a rough time. And so how was that for you when you came back in July? Because I recall I was very skinny then, and that I did 2.5 months of the hard chemo, the AC, which knocked my hair out, because obviously this isn't my hair, but by now we all know that. And I had lost 20 pounds, so it was 110 pounds, and still needed a lot of care. So how was that for you to come back after seeing me in such a bad space and seeing me improved a bit, but because I wasn't coughing then, all my coughing was gone, but I was still in a hard place. And it must have been scary.
It was scary.
Because I know seeing my friend Deb when she lost weight, that freaked me out. So
it was
if
scary.
You feel like sharing.
And the part that was scary about it was you had started the chemo. So it was like, okay, this is kind of the last try or whatever. The chemo was kind of this is our last try at what's going to work. And it was like, okay, it's working, but is it working? Like, it's working, but it's also killing you. Or, I'm using that word loosely, killing. So it was still hard. it was still hard, you know, like I remember the first 2 visits being very hard. You were still in it. You know, you're still in it, but there's different ways that you're still in it, but differently.
Yes.
Put it that way.
I've improved.
You've improved.
Yes.
And I think the second time when I left, I think I still felt like, I don't like leaving. I don't know when I'll see her again. The same feeling. And I think it was both times leaving whereas I think the third time I didn't feel that. So yes, you had started the chemo, but it was still not satisfying as your loved one, because you were improving, your lungs were better, but again, you were thin, like you said, in your hip, or maybe you're walking, you know, you weren't Tara, the Tara that's like, can handle anything. And I mean, you were, because you were handling this major thing in your life.
Right.
But it was still getting you. It was still taxing you in a lot of different ways than the cancer was taxing you.
Mm-hmm.
So it was hard to be witness to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you're holding all these feelings, I'm sure you know. It's like gratitude. I'm so grateful this chemo is working in one sense, but also anger and fear that it's not, like it's also hurting you.
Yeah. It's really scary to see the effects of chemo, how somebody gets really thin because the chemotherapy is killing the cancer, but it's also killing the good cells. So in the process, the patient gets sick or can, like I was hospitalized for 4 nights in June because of so many mouth sores and throat sores. I couldn't eat. It was incredibly painful. So it's this process of being downhill, like almost dying so you can be reborn again.
Yeah. It's really amazing to see go on, and to see somebody, and I'm going to say somebody, but see you just hold your faith through it and have so much strength through it. And I'm going to I kind of think you're, I know you're a special being, but I think you're a special being beyond, like, even though you were so thin and you're still like glowing. So it's like, as much as I was afraid for what was going on, there's always this percentage that Tara, you were still glowing. Your still skin is beauty. Your eyes are still shining. You know, even through this, like, oh wait, she's still not her. She's like way underweight and having a hard time doing, you know, things that you wouldn't normally have a hard time doing. So it was a mix. Does that make sense?
Definitely. I think I was glowing from all the radiation, actually. I was like neon green. Just kidding.
And you have your sense of humor. I gotta say, she's so goofy and so fun.
It's not true.
All the time.
It's not true.
All the time. Like, even, like, you're dealing with this life-death thing. I think I've mentioned this to you probably recently, is you're one of my most alive people in my life. You're not like on survival mode. You're on, I'm alive. I'm going to like joke about things. I'm going to think of fun skits to do. I'm going to, you know, just you stay in touch with what's important to you. And you keep it rolling in a really, really vivacious way.
Thank you for recognizing
Yeah.
that. I think humor and just making light of things makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Even in the worst of circumstances,
Yeah.
you can find beauty or humor.
I know,
Not always easy.
You are living proof of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to mention, Michelle talked about saying goodbye to me and not sure if you would see me again. And I just remember us at the Lahui airport in Kaua'i, just like us crying with tears going down and just looking at them, just saying bye, bye, bye. And it's like the longest byes ever.
Oh my God.
And I remember, I think it was, I don't know, maybe not the first time, the second time, just acknowledging and saying, no, you will see me again.
You did.
Something like, because I could see that fear, which is so normal. I mean, You must have felt really split too, because Michelle came out and she gave of herself each time. Like she was out for 2 weeks, one was, I don't even remember, it was all kind of a blur, but it must have been hard for you to spend time here and give of yourself and then like go back to your world. She lives in Santa Cruz and she's an amazing candle maker and she's got a beautiful daughter and partner and family there, but you must have felt very split because, you know, we had this deep connection and, you know, I was going through such a hard time, but your life was 3,000 miles away in California.
Yep, absolutely. I felt so split. And it's like the time here was this bubble of depth and beauty and like this intimacy we shared, and, you know, speaking of everything. We spoke of death, we spoke of the future and the past, and, you know, is really, really deep. And then to go back to my life, which is deep and worthwhile, and, you know, it's my life.
Right.
But it's like to try to drop in there and like make those things matter. I missed you a lot, and I miss you when I'm at home, you know, and I miss my people when I'm here, but it's like these two worlds that I'm highly aware of, you know, so trying to make them work in my heart and my mind is definitely challenging. And then to go home and be picked up from the airport by my friend who's like, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. And in my heart, I'm like, wait, there's something way bigger and deeper going on. You know, I wasn't ready to go. And it helps to have this beautiful daughter and son and partner that I want to, you know, keep unfolding there, seeing what's happening. But
right.
Yeah, and then when I'm there, I know I feel the loss of not being here with you, because we talk as much as we can, or text as much. Seems like we text at least every other day when I'm there, but, you know, there can be days go by we don't text, or weeks go by we don't talk sometimes, just because when I'm there, and then I have to dive back into my roles, you know, my business and my being a mom and being a partner and being myself and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So yeah, and I do feel the loss, or the challenge of trying to make time and space for it all.
It's almost like there's two parts of you, right? Like the part that dives deep is Tara's good friend through thick and thin and heaven and hell, and then you're motherly to do life. Yeah.
And I have to say, when I go back, my partner is super beautiful. Like I talk about you a lot, you know, especially like in the week or two when I get home. Like, you're just so in my essence. We've just been shared so much that, you know, it's hard to part our astral bodies or whatever. So he's really beautiful about listening, you know, or just like asking me how I'm feeling, or how things are, or how it was. And yeah, so it's nice to have that kind of support back at home.
Good. You surround yourself with real people.
I do.
It's a reflection of you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. What do I ask next?
Well, I thought of something I wanted to say.
Please. Then that's perfect.
Yeah, I don't even know if I might have already touched on this, but the reality that you are such a deep and open person really has helped me, as your intimate friend in this journey, be that, you know, meet you in that place. You're not afraid to talk about anything. You're not, you know, and nothing's going to stop you from like speaking what's on your mind or in your heart, or so that your willingness to go anywhere is really like kind of set the climate for it. And I'm on board, you know, like you, in that your presence demands that people meet you there. So
that's good to know.
Yeah, you're a special being in this. I'm gonna keep saying it. And I've been to so many appointments with you, so I've met so many of your caregivers and sharers of this journey every single one reflects that for you. How just willing you are to be present and to be strong and to be weak and to be whatever, but to be, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a great honor to hear.
Yeah.
I think that it takes a lot of courage to show up as a friend or family member in a situation like this. So kudos to you. I'm thinking of my experience with Deb, my dear friend who had acute myeloid leukemia. I was with her side, you know, on and off for most of the time for 22 months. And I was deeply touched by, I mean, ironically, she was like a guide for me. I had no idea that I would be diagnosed with stage 3 cancer a year after she died. Kind of crazy, but her willingness to show up and be brave inspired me to do so. But I know from the perspective, because again, I wasn't the cancer patient at that time, I was Deb's close friend. The more I could let my guard down and just be like, oh my gosh, this is so scary and it's so hard to see my dear friend suffering. And, you know, I witnessed what happened to her for months at the hospital, because she'd be there for months at a time because she had to be secluded. She couldn't leave the hospital for like the first 2 or 3 months. So it was very intense. But just seeing her with her courage and what she went through helped give me courage to show up for her. But it definitely at times pushed my edge of like that fine line of like, oh my gosh, I've never gone here before. And just so many emotions. Like, she's so young. She was 44 when she was diagnosed. And like, I don't want her to die. Like, I'll do whatever I can to keep her on the side of life. And I mean, that's a whole nother story, but there's such vulnerability in the process of witnessing somebody you love go through it. And maybe it's even more so when it's somebody who's young, you wouldn't expect. I mean, if it's somebody who's older, you kind of know that's coming, but it's a very profound opening experience. So I guess I'm just saying that to encourage those of you listening too, if you're in this situation where friends or family are going through a life-threatening diagnosis, the more you can show up in your vulnerability will help them feel safe and will help you open up too. It's like it's a dance, it's a give and take. And just, I also want to say too, I was on the side of being the caretaker, and I remember somebody remarking to me like, wow, Tara, you're really showing up for Deb. I can't imagine anybody showing up for me like that. And then I had no idea I'd be in this own life-threatening diagnosis myself, but just, and it brings up tears for me, but just like the way you've shown up for me, it's just been so utterly touching. Like, you're showing up for me the same way I did for her. And it's just such a gift. Like, I just, I feel so deeply loved, you know, and you are. So it's just, it's really powerful to be on both sides of it and just be like, to receive that love and just to feel your courageousness, because I know it's scarier than shit to see your beloved, beautiful friend like lose weight and just the physical decline. And so thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you dearly.
I love you dearly. I couldn't, like you said, I could not imagine not showing up. Like, whenever you've said, I think I need you to come out here, in my heart, and I'm like, okay, let's make this happen. Find childcare for, you know, like, let's make all the little things happen, because there's no way I'm not going to be here with you, not for you, and for you, but with you. You know, and you're easy to be with around this, weirdly enough. It's a hard thing, but you and your authenticity and your transparency make it really much easier on this hard journey. Like, I know we've cried together so many times, and I remember one of the first times that you're yurt, I was just like, wow, stuff started coming. And you're like, it's okay, tell me what you want, you know? You like touched me and said, it's okay. Bring the tears, it's okay, I'm here for you, Michelle. I was like, okay. Oh my God, and you didn't make me feel like I needed to hold back my fears. Because we might want, as someone who is with someone, you might feel the compulsion to hold back because you don't want that person to be afraid. You don't want to add to their weight because you know there's already a weight you're carrying. So there's this tendency as a coolest person to not add to it by sharing your tears or your fears or your,
Right.
you know, or your sadness or your heartbreak. And you welcome it, and it's so cleansing, it's so healing for, I think, for both of us, or all of us.
I think it's refreshing. For me, speaking as a person going through cancer, when you or somebody else just shares, I'm so afraid to lose you or whatever, it's refreshing because you're being real. And that's such a gift to me to really acknowledge, like, whatever it may be, yeah, I love you and I don't want to lose you either.
Yeah.
And I remember last time you were here, my hip was breaking and I didn't know it. My hip was slowly breaking.
She's like walking around like a pro. I got this.
I'm very stubborn at times. It can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing.
Yeah.
But I remember you saying, oh, we were talking about the reality if I did die, because even before I moved to Kaua'i, I remember I felt something happening in my body. This was like, I don't even know, a year and a half ago, crying when I still lived in California to Michelle saying, I don't want to die. I want to stay here. So you allowed me to be open and honest about it. But I remember us crying together in September. And this is very personal to share on camera, but it's real, and I think it's good for everybody to hear the reality of it. It's just like the sense of like, if I die, I'll still be around, I'll still love you, and we'll see each other again. And that is a very vulnerable thing to say, but I said that out of a place of what it was like after Deb died. Like, I've still felt her spirit and I've still felt her around, and my earthly body misses calling her or texting her and just seeing her, but feeling her presence. But that was a very powerful experience to share that with you, because it allowed me to open up to you in a deeper, vulnerable way that I had with anybody for a long time. So yeah, I just encourage openness to everybody, of just being brave enough to say the things that are scary, and to know that'll allow more of an openness and connection. Because, you know, for me, say if I did die soon, I know that I shared this heartfelt stuff with Michelle. And I mean, honestly, from the perspective of seeing Deb decline, I wish I had had the time and space to share more with her. There was, I think, a fear of sharing those certain things, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have such a hole in my heart when you die, because I knew she was gonna die, and there wasn't that sense of openness between. There was, but I don't want to go into a lot of details, but I just couldn't go there. So it was really important for me, given I was on the side of it, just be like, I need to be totally honest, because I want to live life without regrets. Because you would fly back to California and like, who knows what happens, you know. And I wanted to know that everything was clear, and that if I did go, that our spirits would be connected in honesty.
It's so well said, and it's so important. Those moments are so important because they're hard, you know, but once the space is open, and I, you know, once the space is open and we're sharing that, like, okay, well, if I do die, or when I die, you know, how do I want to say this? It's like, it's hard to get there, but then the beauty and the intimacy that's shared is incomparable to many moments in my life. So I'm so grateful for you going out on the edge and being honest like that, because it provided that space for us. You know, it provided us to share that moment of talking about death. And you might do that with someone who's not on that journey, so it holds a different weight. But when you're actually facing death, then you really are speaking from a place of, true wisdom and true experience right there.
Right. It's right in your face.
Yeah.
Looming over you.
Yeah.
You can't deny
You're
it.
not messing around. You're really saying, okay, I know I might die very soon, and so I'm with you if I die.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get to say that to each other much, and hearing it was hard and also beautiful. It was like so difficult to speak like on concrete terms of your body not being here.
Right.
It was so difficult, and like I remember just oh my god, I don't know how to handle this in this moment, but then again I don't know how not to handle it. Like it also was so beautiful. Such a beautiful thing to hear from you and share with you, and know it and know deeply, but also just like put it in the words. And you're a very eloquent speaker. You're very eloquent with portraying how you're feeling or thinking, and that helps. That helps, open up a space for that eloquence and sharing of feelings with each other. So yeah, it's hard and it's a gift. Right. You know how things are often mingled up in complexity.
Yes. The dark and the light dance together.
Yeah.
She's a shadow dancer. Beautiful dancer. Thank you for that acknowledgement. I appreciate it. I want to ask one other question that might, I know for me thinking about it, it's edgy, so it probably is for you too. Mm-hmm. So feel free just to be honest. Okay. She's like, what are you going to ask? Yeah, this is something that I'm learning how to be with. So I've done this chemotherapy. I just did my last round on Tuesday. Feeling relatively good right now, enough to do this interview, thank goodness. But there's been this interesting thing where there's this life expectancy over my head. So before I was diagnosed with cancer, I had this whole idea of, oh yeah, I'll live to be older and I've got plenty of time, blah, 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 like I'll just be footloose and fancy free sort of thing. And when I was diagnosed with cancer, it was like a call to life. I was like, wow, I may not have much more time. I gotta just follow through and do what I want, which is why I ended up coming back home to Kaua'i, because my heart was calling to be here in this beautiful healing place. So my question is, you were there when you saw, so the doctor, the radiologist said, okay, Tara, if you don't do chemo, you have 6 months. If you do chemo, you have 2 to 5 years. And then I'm going on these hormone blockers, and the doctor has predicted okay, well, the cancer usually comes back, but the average is 18 months, and then you usually have to do more chemo. So there's these predictions hanging over my head, right? Somebody comes into the doctor and says, you have 6 months to live. And then usually the person believes that. If they believe it, they die in 6 months. So I'm sitting, and those of us with a cancer diagnosis that are serious, especially stage 4, we're sitting with this space of okay, we have this prediction. Are we gonna choose to believe in it? Or are we gonna just know that we are infinite beings and we can heal it? So I think there's a big topic there. We could talk about the work of Joe Dispenza and all that, but there was a lot of choice of how we sit with it. And for me personally, given that I'm just finishing chemo and I'm going to go on hormone blockers too, I am not kind of figured out where I sit with all that. I take a viewpoint of being on the razor's edge of being realistic about what I'm told, but also believing that I'm doing really well now. I'm kind of defying all odds with my healing, especially that I had hip surgery 3 months ago. Everybody says, wow, Tara, you're doing so really well. And I believe it's a big part of it is due to my attitude. So I'm just curious, and I know this is very vulnerable, so feel free to answer however's comfortable for you. How is it for you knowing she's got this prediction of how much longer she's gonna live? How do you hold that?
And it's an excellent question. And it's funny because about 20 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago when we were talking and I brought up the radiologist, I felt it in our discussion. she said, you have blah, blah amount to live in both. And I felt us not even talking about if you do the chemo, I felt that in our discussion about 10 minutes ago. So, so that to me, it reflects this in me. I don't subscribe to it. I'm not, I mean, how do I put this? I guess I don't let myself go there. Especially because I think there are two people in your lives that have been through cancer that have defied odds as well. Two beautiful beings that have gone probably beyond their predicted life expectancy, if that's what you'd call it.
No, I know a lot of people.
Okay,
actually.
a lot. I'm thinking of two in particular. So yeah, even better. You know a lot. And that's more where that is where I come from. And it's cool. That's great. I'm glad she gave you a frame. But no, I imagine you living a long time. And that's where my heart is with this. And it does make me a little sad to go there, so I don't go there. You know? And I also really don't believe it because of your vivaciousness. Like, you know, I've already used that word for you. You're like defying the odds on so many levels. And because you really seek out what's healthy, dietary wise, supplement wise, you know, just in many modes, the many modes you want to take on, you choose to spend your time on a health regimen as opposed to like unhealthy. So my odds for you are, you know, probably something else will take you, not the cancer.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'll be like stepped on by a big elephant or
Exactly.
something, or a coconut will fall on my
Your
head.
hair is going to be gray and long.
We'll be old ladies together,
old ladies
cackling
sitting on the porch, and I think probably like the rocking chair will break, and then
I like that.
Yeah.
I'll fish with my death down.
Yeah.
That's very inspiring. Yeah, I love to hear that. That's how I'm holding it too. But thank you for seeing that for me, because I do believe that if others see a vision for somebody, it'll help that come true.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people, like, don't think of me as sick. Like, don't call me sick, because
Totally.
I'm not sick. Or, you know, see me living, see me healing.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy to hear that. She and I have never talked about this.
We haven't.
Thank you for your courage to talk about it, especially when there's a camera in front of you.
What camera?
You're doing great, by the way. Yeah, it's such a process. So
It really is day by day process. I'm seeing.
Yeah, to believe in the possibility of healing. I have friends who have gone into radical remission. They were in hospice and the cancer's gone. I have friends that were given a stage 4 cancer diagnosis and the cancer's just stopped growing or it's disappeared. I mean, it's pretty amazing to hear those stories. It gives a lot of hope because the mainstream media is just all about stage 4 cancer. Oh, you're gonna die. But now it's being started seen as a chronic illness. So there's a lot of power in belief, really.
Oh, absolutely. And visualization and prayer and all the stuff we've, you know, you've been doing while you're on this journey. It seems like it's super powerful. A lot of people praying for you, and
I feel so blessed. I feel very held and supported by so many people all over the globe, and it's beautiful. It's really beautiful to show up and be vulnerable in the process. I hear of people diagnosed with cancer who don't tell anybody. They keep it private, and maybe a few people know, and then sadly they end up dying, and then people find out they had cancer, and it's just so sad to me because there's so much fear shrouded around it. There's so much shame, and this is why I'm choosing to talk about it, because I feel like the more we talk about it and demystify it, like we live in a death-phobic culture, the more we talk about death, talk about sex, you know, these things that are taboo, where we bring light to it, like cancer doesn't have to be so scary. It can be a path to awakening and joy and connection. Because
absolutely,
I mean, honestly, in our friendship, and this happened with Deb too, like, it brought us closer.
Exactly.
It's brought us closer.
We haven't spent as much time as we have in the past year together ever, or like since we were young.
That's very
and
true.
We've shared so many really deep and intimate moments together this past year. It has brought us together. It's like imbued so much potency into our love of each other, and I mean, I was gonna say friendship, but we're way beyond that.
We're soul sisters,
Soul
baby.
sisters. I mean, really, I think something and she'll say it, or the other way around. There's so much connection here.
Very rooted.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a gift, and it's weird to say because that's at the expense of something, some things for you, but it is a gift ultimately.
It is. Mm-hmm. It's a call to life.
Mm-hmm. It really is. It's a call to be present and authentic, and compassionate and loving and all the good things that count.
For those who can listen, wake up.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of you for being so courageous to do so and not running away. I've had a lot of conversations with friends. I've seen it a little bit, not so much, but I've heard about it from others where there's someone diagnosed with cancer and all of a sudden certain friends just aren't there. They stop calling because it's terrifying, and I understand the fear of cancer, but they can't step up just in the sense of the heaviness of it. And it's very painful for the people with cancer who's like, oh my gosh, they can't handle it. And then not only are you dealing with the fear of your life and whatever's coming forward, the treatment, but you're also dealing with these people that just take off. So to have people who can hold your hand through it, it's such an immeasurable gift. Well, the irony is, like, you find out your friend has cancer, so you're afraid of losing them. So I want to go deeper in. I don't want to lose you. Right. Like, that was the fear, is losing you. So I'm not going to back away, because that would be losing you before you're even gone. So I'm like coming close. And I remember, I don't even think I've shared this with you, but I remember when you first told me, and I had this conversation with my partner, and I remember going, okay, so I feel like I should move to Nevada City and help her with her horses. And you had Cyrus at the time, but I still was like, how can we work our lives where I'm up there more? So immediately I was like, I'm on board with this, That means a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I know, I never told you that. And then you moved to Kaua'i, so it's like further, but more beautiful to be around, so great.
I'll come to Kauai anytime.
I'll come to Kauai anytime.
I hope she moves to Kauai, personally.
I want to.
Yes, it's true. I know, I'm thinking about that, like, when Deb was diagnosed, we weren't spending that much time together because I was moving out of the area and she was so busy with work. Right. So we were still close, but a little bit separate. But as soon as she was diagnosed, I was like, I'm going to be there, because she was immediately in the hospital. I mean, it was serious, like she might die in 2 weeks, that sort of seriousness. Yeah. So, and I remember for you and I, we didn't see each other that often. It was like once every year or so.
It was rare.
Yeah. You were busy in your life, I was busy in mine.
We had so much, just how life gets, and the person so deep in your heart. And, oh, cool, we got to talk 2 months ago. Maybe it's time we talk again.
Right.
And it's so shifted, that for us. So, again, what a gift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's beautiful to be able to see the gifts in something that's very scary, especially culturally.
It really is.
There are a lot of gifts if you choose to see it.
I mean, what a metaphor for, like, wading through the ugliness of things, or like the darkness, and just having faith that in this there's some gem, or some gems in this dark time, dark experience.
My dear friend Eugene was talking about, like, holding a candle to go through the darkness, because the chemo therapy invariably, which will probably hit me tomorrow or the next day, it plunges me deep in the shadows. And he was saying the metaphor of like carry a candle, and Michelle is a candle maker. She makes beeswax candles. So I was like, well, I have the candle maker
Actually, right
she's
here with
she's
you.
my light. So that
I will
was
always
sweet.
be that for you.
Thank
And I know, and you are that for me. You've always been that. And I know if the tables were turned, if they will turn ever, you know, you will do that for me. I know it.
Be there for sure.
And I see you being there for, that's an amazing thing. She's there for so many people that are going through this because of her experience. You know, that I've seen you be so generous with your time, your money, with your creative, like, oh, I'm going to send this person who's going through a hard time a gift. So you go out and find a gift for them, or you, yeah, so what started that? I forget, but yeah, just your generosity and your willingness to be there for others while you're going through it is so touching.
Thank you.
Yeah. And impactful. It really impacts, you know, my perception of things. And,
Thank you. I really feel like if you have something to give with someone's going through a hard time, it's important to show up if you can without depleting yourself. That's key, without depletion.
Yeah.
But it's important, especially in the light of going through cancer. It's so terrifying, and it's like you almost need a roadmap, and there is none, or it's difficult. So if you have something to give, it's important to show up if you can.
Well, so many times an experience like that can make people shift in the other direction of like self, like I'm going through this, I need all my energy for myself, or you know, but clearly it's worked opposite for you.
Right.
I'm going through this, I'm going to share what I've learned, I'm going to share my time, my money, my whatever, you know.
Yeah, there's definitely been a self-care piece though too.
Yeah.
Like I've had to find that own balance.
Right.
It's
right.
a bit of a seesaw, like, oh, I've given too much. Oh, I'm depleted. Oh, I need to come back in.
For sure.
It's a constant checking in.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a dance for sure. Well, thank you for just being such a wonderful, dear friend, and I'm just so grateful for you showing up. It's such a gift to be loved in this way. For me, I tend to be like the giver, I guess. Yeah, Michelle was just saying that. And one of the gifts of having a serious diagnosis is just learning how to receive and just letting the people who show up for you love you, which can be challenging if you are attached to a strong persona of I'm going to do it all myself. So it's been a big gift for me to be like, okay, yeah, I can't get out of bed, please get me food or whatever. And yeah, so.
It's beautiful. You have become a very gracious receiver. You have, like, whenever something you're always like, thank you, you're gracious about it, and you're not, I mean, you maybe feel like you're fighting asking for help, but I feel you ask for help, and then when I give it, you're very gracious in receiving it, which is, it is a dance that's like, okay, when it's all met that way, there's a nice flow that can happen. And maybe it's something you've had to learn, is how to receive help, because then you're kind of like, okay, now I'm agreeing to being helpless in some way. And that's a hard thing to agree with yourself, I imagine. So you know that, but it's coming across, it's working. You're becoming really beautiful at receiving. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a process.
Yeah, I imagine.
It kind of whittles you down. You're like, okay, surrender. I must receive.
Yeah.
When I broke my hip 3 weeks ago, and I was in the hospital for a week, and my dear cousin took care of me for 2 weeks, and it was just like the most helpless I've ever been. Like learning how to walk again, you know, basic things of hey, can you bring me food? Oh, I need rides. And like, oh, I need help walking to the bathroom. It's like that really cracked, very humbling, cracked me open to like, okay, I just have to receive. It was a big gift. But yeah, I'm happy to be able to find that balance again. Oh. Anything else you'd like to add to conclude?
Probably have so much, but also I feel it's, kind of I'm okay with ending.
Okay.
I love you so much. I don't know, I wouldn't know what not to be here with you. I wouldn't know how to live that life of not being with you on this. And I'm so grateful that, I get to be your bestie.
Oh. Well, I am so happy. One other question, actually.
Yes.
I thought of this earlier and I forgot. Do you feel, and this is getting a little esoteric, but why not?
Bring it.
Do you feel that this was almost like written in the stars, like a soul destiny, like a soul agreement between us as friends, maybe? To come into this life and have this experience together?
Yeah. Yes. I think it's a beautiful way to put it, but yes.
You felt that?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it was so easy to know that of course I'm going to be here for you, or of course you're going to be there for me, whatever. Yeah, maybe the ease of that it wasn't even a decision, Yeah, that's a beautiful way you just put it. I like that, our soul agreement. And I do, I believe that exists for us as humans. Like, I believe we gather in these lifetimes together from last lifetimes. Like, I feel like there's affinities that bring us all together. And you and I in particular, this must be part of, our contract. Yeah.
There's a sweetness, I think, in just knowing that and feeling that, like, this was meant to be. This is part of our dance.
Totally. And I know you said that in reference to my daughter recently about something, and it was almost like relaxing to think of that. Like, okay, this is beyond my human understanding of what I can do to make this better or whatever for her. But, we came into this. We chose to be here. We chose to share this path together way before we took on our human forms.
Right.
So there's some sort of peacefulness around believing that, recognizing that. Yeah. The sweetness.
And I think it's ironic too, just to give it mention that we met, she's 2 years older than me, and we were young deadheads with our young kids. The Grateful Dead, right? We were in that dancing world. Just the whole realm of what that represented, and who would have thunk that 25 years later we'd be diving into these deep shadows together.
I would not have.
Oh no, I never.
No.
We were immortal then.
No, I know. Bring it. We'll take it. Anything. We can handle anything with our beauty and truth and
our feathers in our hair.
Our youth, our imperviousness to anything wrong.
Yes. Invincible.
I
just want to bring up one other thing, because this is like a almost like a what's the word? Just a commemoration of our friendship, to an honoring of our friendship. That I was living in Maui. It was soon after we met, so 25-ish years ago or so. And we both had this like long, like beautiful hair like Michelle has here. Beautiful hair like I have. No, my hair is like this long. But but long curly hair. My hair is usually brown, hers the color it is. But I don't remember the conversation. I'm kind of just bringing this for humor's sake, but to show the depth of our friendship, because it's pretty remarkable to have a friend like Michelle. Like, I've had people say when I talk about you, like, oh man, I wish I had a friend like that. I never had a friend, so I have a lot of gratitude for you in my life. But I think we kind of dared each other to chop our hair off And I was living there, and then I didn't see her for a few days, and she showed up and she cut her hair off. And I'm like, uh-oh, now I have to do it. And I totally chickened out. But I did it years later, like 3 years later. But
that was fun. Well, you gave me like the courage to do it, or the something to do it, because I don't like not taking dares.
Yes, you're very
So we had this little talk, and it was like, you had planted the seed, and I was, it was a good seed. I needed it. And I had flirted with the idea because my hair was like such a big part of who I was. Like I think we talked about this, it preceded me. People would talk about my hair before they even would talk about me. So the seed was planted with you, and it was super sweet. We were going to do it together. And I was like, and I think you even said, I'm not like where you saw me going like towards it. You were like, maybe not. And I was going towards it. And I remember the night before I did it, I was like nervous because I knew I was going to do it, and I wasn't so on board, but I just knew, it's like before, I just knew. And so, yeah, I did it, and it was totally fine that you didn't do it because it's your own journey. It's like everything ultimately is your own journey. And we have guides and helpers and angels and friends and everything along the way, but ultimately it was my head that I needed to expose. So you gave me, the courage to do it.
And how interesting that years later, you were by my side when I had hair down the middle of my back, curly, crazy, brownish, blondish,
beautiful
hair, and I
lioness.
Didn't want to lose it, but of course with chemo to choose my life, I had to. So how interesting that, after we did that dare, I did cut my hair short a few years after that. So I was like 27, 28 at the time. But, fast forward 20 years later, then, I have to let go of my hair. Yeah. So that's kind of interesting. I haven't thought about that. It just sort of evens out in
that is
yin yang sort of way.
And it's like, doesn't matter. This doesn't matter.
True.
We know it matters.
Right. Maybe you'll shave your head again.
Maybe
just
I
kidding.
Wait, it does matter, sorry.
Yes. No, I know. It's comforting to have hair.
It is.
My hair.
I gotta say, she's adorable with short hair. Oh my gosh. I want you to see it. But so, you're so beautiful. And your short hair is just another little frame of that beautiful face we get to gaze upon.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, the pixie look.
The pixie look.
Well, thank you so much for your time and your vulnerability, and I'm really grateful to have this conversation with you.
Me too. Thanks for wanting to know what I think and feel. And I feel like when we're done, I'm going to be like, oh, I could have said this and I could have said it better, but whatever. It's our exchange, and it's beautiful, and I feel really grateful.
Oh, thank you. Well, we can always do more interviews.
Okay.
You can share your own thing. Yeah, I appreciate having conversations like this because it just allows us to be real and closer, and grows my heart towards you. Opens up my heart, I just want to say.
Me too.
I love you.
I love you so much. All the lifetimes behind and ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
Love you.
Love you. And love you.
And love you.
Love yourself.
I was just going to say, and love me. Not you love me, but we love me. Which means
wait,
we love
me
you.
Love you, love me. Wait, love we?
We love we.
Mwah. Bye.
Mwah. Aloha.